because if not, he's got a complaint, you know, because it's already an industrial park. I mean, everywhere around it, you look at the map, so, I mean, I think you open up a can of worms, you start trying to, say, put sound barriers up, there's no, unless you're gonna put up a wall, a sound barrier wall, I mean, shrubs may work, they may not, are you gonna determine what shrubs work? Or is that going to be a qualifier? I think it's a bad idea.
All right, thank you, sir. Any other discussion on it?
Mr. Chairman, I call for question.
Thank you. All right, have a second. I have a second. Second. Madam Clerk, call.
Bell,
Yes.
Barry, Brackett,
Yes.
Cunningham,
We are in the amendment, right?
No, question. Cease debate and go to voting. Then we'll vote on the amendment, then the resolution.
Ceasing debates, we're stopping.
Stopping debate.
Yes, stops it. Yes, stops it.
Yeah.
Duff,
Yes.
Ferguson,
Yes.
Gann,
Yes.
Goss,
Yes.
Hendrickson, Hester,
Yes.
Hooks,
Yes.
Kirby,
Yes.
Lehman,
Yes.
Parks,
Yes.
and Wilson.
Yes.
It's 15 yes.
All right, now we're voting on the amendment that would, for the, landscape. Madam Clerk.
Okay. Bell,
No.
Barry,
No.
Brackett,
No.
Cunningham,
No.
Duff,
No.
Ferguson,
No.
Gann,
No.
Goss,
No.
Hendrickson,
No.
Hester,
No.
Hooks,
No.
Kirby,
No.
Lehman,
No.
Parks,
No.
and Wilson.
No.
All right, this time, we're gonna be voting on resolution 0323 SC 010. Madam Clerk.
Bell,
Yes.
Barry,
Yes.
Brackett,
Yes.
Cunningham,
Yes.
Duff,
Yes.
Ferguson,
Yes.
Gann,
No.
Goss,
Yes.
Hendrickson,
Yes.
Hester,
Yes.
Hooks,
Yes.
Kirby,
Yes.
Lehman,
Yes.
Parks,
Yes.
and Wilson.
Yes.
14 yes and 1 no.
Motion passes. At this time, we're gonna adjourn our, special, zoning, public hearing and zoning, resolutions. And go into a commission workshop. I hear a motion.
Motion.
Second. All right. All those in favor say aye. All right, so at this time, we're gonna go into a workshop on the sound ordinance. This is, I don't know how to start it out. When this started in your office,
It started with a request from this body for us to look at and talk to the planning commission about, coming up with some sort of a, noise ordinance.
so there's been much debate on it. Let me advise the members of the audience, because we're in a workshop, unless a commissioner yields to you, you will not be able to speak, while we're in this workshop. We will not vote. I'm gonna take a vote on anything while we're in this shop, or in this setting.
Chairman, will you need us?
No, ma'am, there'll be no more voting. Thank you.
Don't you want to stay?
No, Ariel's got me feeling bad, so I gotta go check on him.
This is not taking possible ordinance. You gentlemen care if I sit down up here?
No, go right ahead.
May get some tough questions.
So,
I expect that. Probably deserve it too.
So Glenn, do we have any, what they call audiometers now?
No, we don't have any right now.
And I looked at the cost of those, they're anywhere from $38 to, $400.
That's the same one they got.
Let me get the copy of the, hand up, take a copy of the order itself. Thanks, sir.
Sure.
All right, so I'll open the floor up for debate at this time. But I think to set the groundwork, does anyone want to take off here before we should go with this, ordinance?
I would like to know, are there instances of, complaints that has called for this noise ordinance to be considered? Are there issues within the county? Are they
Yes, sir.
specific to one place, or are they at numerous places?
Different places around the county. We do have some specific areas concerned where it continually happens.
Where are those places?
Some of the marinas along the Armin Road out there. There's several Airbnbs that are becoming a problem.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, about 3 years ago, I got a call from one of the constituents that lives in my area, was asking about a noise ordinance, why Roane County did not have one. So at that time, we had several conversations, but we received copies of Anderson's and Knox County's noise ordinance.
Yeah.
So I forwarded those to Mr. Leffey and had some discussion about that, but it's also out in my district also, there's a lot of the problems comes from our campsite, where our mobile homes are, where mobile campsites are, RV sites. And I really liked what this lady told me. She said, it's not that I don't want them not to have their business. She said, I own a business. And she said, I understand people need to have a business and make money to have a living. And she said, you know, it's okay that on a Friday night or on a Saturday night, if they stay up late and they, you know, have a good time, I know what they're doing, they're enjoying themselves and their families. But she said the problem is Monday through Thursday at 12 and 1 and 2 o'clock in the morning, she said for those of us that have to work, she said it's real challenging. And that's just always stuck with me. Not the fact that she understood that they was business owners, you know, that at this RV park, and she wanted people to be able to enjoy RVing and have a good time. But what it calls for the residents who lived around there, and also in my community, we do have a lot of vacation rental by owner property, and they're in subdivisions, they're in small cul-de-sacs, subdivisions, and they're renting those out, and they're renting those out a lot on the weekends. And, you know, they are up late and they are four-wheelers and they are playing music. And the residents there, it's becoming a very big challenge for them just to, you know, to have their kid, and just to be able to sleep and get some rest. So it's not just at marinas. You know, I don't live nowhere near a marina. It's a lot of places.
Mr. Chairman. Good.
Mr. Barrett?
Probably the same time frame, about 3 years ago, I guess, when I first mentioned this to Glenn. I came home from a Friday night football game after doing the shows about 1 o'clock in the morning. I have an Airbnb across the lake from me. It sounded like Opryland. So I went over and told the guys, you know, I said, hey guys, we want you here. We love having you here. But there's a little thing called respect. And that's what this whole thing is just about, people respecting folks that are living by them. So I called the sheriff and they came out and said, guys, we can't do anything about it. We don't have a noise ordinance. So that's when I first mentioned to Glenn, you know, if we don't have any enforcement mechanism in place, we need to get one. And since that time, we've had more and more new homes built. You know, what we used to call rural is no longer rural. Those are subdivisions in place now. Those are people moving in here, buying homes, and making Roane County their home. And again, it just gets to respect. When you're across the lake from a party that's playing and having a band playing at 12:30 or 1 o'clock in the morning, and you can't enjoy your own residence because of the noise that's coming from there, they're not going to do anything about it because they don't have to. We don't have a noise ordinance. So the sheriff is stymied, we're stymied because we don't have an ordinance. And this is 2023. And if we want to protect the rights of the citizens who are moving in here, who are spending money, who want to become part of our community, and yet we're not protecting them because we don't have this noise ordinance. Mr. Gann, you're exactly right. How many new campgrounds have we got just to this body wanting rezoning for campgrounds? And unless this body enacts something that protects people living around these campgrounds, doesn't matter if they have good roads or anything else. It's what's happening within that campground that's creating a nuisance for them. So I think a couple of things, Glenn. I think number 5 on this first page there, the DBA. Can you tell me in layman's terms what that is usually?
That is a measurement of sound level, basically. And that's what's used by OSHA and all of your health institutes and stuff, or when you have to go into hearing protection and stuff.
Okay. And so let's go ahead and try to walk through this thing then. Any industrial folks that are in business today are grandfathered by this noise ordinance, right?
Yeah.
Until they replace equipment, until change ownerships or something of that nature.
Yes, unless, you know, they gotta change the process for it to kick in.
So we wouldn't be putting anyone out of business with this noise ordinance. It'd only be for future if they're coming in.
That's correct.
We're I guess impulsive sound, so doesn't mean you can't shoot fireworks, only till a period of time, till a deadline.
Yeah.
Shooting guns, the same thing.
Yep.
So we're not trying to take rights away. Again, we're just saying respect those that are around you. And this is all complaint driven, right?
Complaint.
So if you don't have a complaint, you're not gonna be bothered. If you haven't had a complaint, chances are this ordinance isn't gonna affect you. But if you know, now that we would have one, we would, but it's still complaint driven.
Still complaint driven.
I guess the other thing is we've got this set up residential use at 60 decibels.
Yeah.
From 10 p.m. Tell me what 60 decibels would sound like. Sing for me a little bit at 60 decibels.
You're right here sitting in, when you got a courtroom like this with this many people in it earlier, when you guys weren't in, your meeting, all the people talking at once, that's about 60 decibels in this room.
Okay, so
55 to 60.
308 Rock is 172 dB.
it's what?
172, 308.
And that's at the point though.
That is standing.
Okay,
on
so
your shoulder.
what we're talking about is if I'm living across the lake and the complaint is coming from across the lake, then you're coming to my house to get the reading, to see what the reading is at my house.
Whoever the complainant is, we will go to their property and check from the property line or the lake to see what this noise level is.
So basically, we all know that sound is gonna sound a lot louder across the water. So if it's more than 60 or 80 or 90 at my house, then it's probably 120 or 130 or 140 from the actual event.
Yeah.
True? Okay.
Yeah, it's gonna be a lot higher, yes.
Okay, so, instead of 60, I think to get something in place, if you increase that to 70 or 75, how much, is that making a large enough difference to?
Well, probably not. I mean, this is your guys' ordinance, really. We put it together through the planning commission for you guys. You can amend it any way you see fit.
And how did the planning commission react?
They voted unanimously and recommended approval.
As proposed?
As proposed.
So, and I think another thing, Mr. Murray, I think 85 dB is for long-term exposure, to 85 dB is for hearing loss.
Yes,
There's a
sir.
difference between chronic and
They're saying
acute.
there.
So,
So if we, and I guess in this one as well, we were, why are we exempting any vehicle or employee of the county?
Because if they're out doing business for the county, that vehicles need to not be in this at all.
Okay.
Just need to say employee.
Okay. And I guess something else that may be causing some folks, we're saying lawnmowers between the hours of 7 and 9. Sometimes I have to mow my grass later than 9 o'clock. Is that a violation of this one, or can we?
We can amend this
Okay.
for later time.
I'm just trying to look and see what things, so we're not saying you can't have a parade, we're not saying that you can't have an outdoor athletic event, fireworks display,
No.
Okay, and the other thing is, as you read this, we're talking about a special permit.
Yeah.
That you can get if you know you're gonna be over this unit. So for instance, I have a marina, and I'm gonna have a band, I can get a special permit that night for these times.
Yes, sir.
I still wouldn't go past midnight, I hope.
No.
But you can get one. And then the other thing was, we said we're gonna charge $75
Yeah.
for that special permit. How did we arrive at that?
That's based off like an industry standard from county to county. I looked at probably between 20 and 25 ordinances that were done for counties through CTAS, and that was on the lower end. That's what I put in here.
Okay, and so then it also says in here that your department would be in charge of going out and checking with a meter,
Yeah.
and then calling proper authorities if there was a violation.
Yes, sir.
so y'all gonna run out in the middle of the night, is what you're saying?
Yes, sir.
So, is that part of the $75 fee or anything, or I mean,
If we're getting complaints on a person who has a permit that they're exceeding what they were allowed to, we're still gonna have to go out and check it. I mean,
I just don't want us, again, being fee grabbers
Yeah.
at $75 sounds like
you guys can set whatever
sounds
fee you
like a
want
lot
for
for a
that.
special permit. But that's, so the planning commission has passed it,
Mhm.
unanimously. Can you just share quickly, as you were going through other counties, anything that stands out there that caused them to do it, or I mean, or how many, CTASC, I'm sure CTASC has a manual on this.
A lot of things drive counties and cities to come up with noise ordinances. One of the biggest things here lately has been the Bitcoin data mining farms that make a lot of noise and buzz, and it's very irritating. A lot of folks have done it just for the fact that Tennessee has now become a pretty hot area for these vacation rental by owners. And, you know, these guys pile in there on the weekend, and you got, 10 to 12 people in there partying all night. And, the folks that live next door, that have a residence, lives there all the time, can't even sleep. So it's a lot of different things that go into that. If I may, guys, let me give you a broad overview of how this would work, okay? If we get no complaints, this ordinance doesn't mean anything. Once we get a complaint, then we'll go out and check it. We are not going to the violator or the person with creating the noises property. We're going to the person that is complaining property, and we will measure that noise level at that property line. If it is below the recommended noise level for that district, then there's no violation. If it's over it, then we would call a deputy to come out, go with us to the violators, or, at that time, it would be a violation. Person violating the ordinance's property, and let them know that. They turn it down, we turn around, walk off, everything's good. Okay, if they don't, and they refuse to, then we have a mechanism for that in here. Basically, it's a state statute, it's called disorderly conduct, and he can actually, ticket them for that. If we have to keep going back and keep going back and keep going back, then that's where we need to get the county attorney involved, and we need to get an injunction against these folks, because they're habitual violators of the ordinance.
Mr. Chairman, I have a difficult question. Mr. Lakeview, what's the difference? How could this be any different than the disorderly conduct law that is on the books?
Well, I think what it's saying is that they're gonna charge them under the disorderly conduct law, which would be TCA 3917-305A3, creates a physically offensive condition by any act that serves no legitimate purpose.
I understand that. When I was a law enforcement officer, and I've got neighbors that wants to see this pass. When I was a law enforcement officer and we got a complaint of loud noise, we would go out normally and warn them, saying, hey, y'all need to quieten this thing down. And if we went back and heard the same noise, and normally we sit down the street there for a little while, or up the road, or somewhere, and after we left, if it got cranked back up, then we cited them for disorderly conduct.
The problem that you have is the disorderly conduct statute does not have these decibel limits. And you get into court under this TCA 3917-305A3, and what's offensive to one person may not be offensive to another person.
You answer my question.
Mr. Chairman, do I still have the floor?
You do.
Thank you. You gotta share it. Yeah, we're sure. As we said before, we've had a lot of growth in our county. Most of that growth has been in the rural areas. If you look south of the river, you look east Roane County, you look at South Roane County. And I guess one of the things that, as we listen to zoning, people say, well, if you didn't know what you were buying, you shouldn't have bought that. Folks, these are people that are buying property in our county, and they're paying property taxes, and we don't give them any services outside the city. We don't offer many services. And this is a service that this is, again, I just think it all starts and stops with respect. And as you've been out, and building permits should tell us what's going on in our county. I mean, that's a pretty phenomenal growth in the last year.
Yes.
With building permits and the money that the building permits, I mean, building permits aren't cheap.
Nope.
So if you look at those, so I just think it's time for us to look after our residents, with an ordinance, and I'm for making amendments if we wanna change the levels. It's better than what they have now. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
to me, this is,
I think,
I'm sorry, if somebody else had
Yeah,
it.
let me get Junior first, then I'll come to you, Mr. Wilson.
Can they put up sound barrier vegetation? I'm just kidding. My question is, if y'all going out in the middle of the night, how's that gonna affect the payroll? Is that gonna jack up the overtime and,
We're
And all this
salaried
going-
employees.
huh?
We're salaried employees.
Okay, so that ain't gonna change, and they ain't gonna build up comp time and all that.
There'll be some comp time.
So I mean, they would have more opportunity to not show up. So that's gonna get us behind on everything else. Is that correct?
It possibly could do that.
Okay, and it could also pull the sheriff away from, the sheriff's office away from maybe another scene they need to be at. Desperately. But they're all the way over here at the other side of the county, because somebody's playing a guitar. I mean, you know, how far are we gonna take this? And that's my.
That's up to you guys.
That's my point.
That's up to this body right here.
I mean, everybody complains about bigger government, don't want it, and now here we are trying to make it bigger. But I live beside a racetrack, I expect dirt on my cars and noise on the weekend. That's just my thoughts on it. You know,
What if they build it?
I live in the country, and we're gonna have different smells, different tastes, different sights, different noises. You know, if you buy around the marina, you should expect partying on the weekend or something. That's just my thoughts. So,
Understand?
that's all I have.
Mr. Wilson?
I totally get this, and coming from the law enforcement background, you do have to have an adopted means of measure to be able to enforce. Right now, when you have a complaint, you really can't do anything about it, because as we are not governed as cities are, you know, we don't have the ordinances in place that are to be able to stop that, you know. But in counties, it's kind of free-for-all unless you put this in place, and complaint-driven is the key word, guys. Complaint-driven, it's not, we're not going out looking for problems. But if you get, you know, obviously you get 4 or 5 neighbors, 2 or 3 that's coming in and saying, hey, this is, then it's giving an authority to be able to enforce that, or be able to check it, and then, you know, provide that warning to quieten down, or whatever the case may be. And it's generally, like I'm hearing, it's a lot in the Airbnbs and some of the things when they have not issued the permitting, or if they did not issue a permit, such as a ban or something like that. But right now, I mean, you don't have any grounds until we do this. And I kind of agree with what Mr. Berry said. You're in 2023, and we're growing a little bit faster, and we do need something in place for him when the complaint comes in to be able to do something about it. It's pretty simple as that. Right now, if we have nothing, we need to put something in place to be able to stop when those come in. Either that, or your phone's gonna be ringing off the hook because people are getting a lot of complaints. So right now, let's allow the proper person, which is in our codes, to be able to make that judgment call with some behind it, getting some backbone behind it, getting something behind it that'll stand in place. That's what I'm saying.
Hey, just to tell you about the growth, I've got a House bill here that I'm gonna have to give to the county attorney and let him take a look at, that is proposed down in Nashville. And the interesting part of it is what they're estimating the growth of the state of Tennessee to be in the next 20 years. They're saying that we will have over 1 million new residents in the state of Tennessee in the next 20 years. And that's a Senate and House bill out of Nashville.
And you bring up an interesting point, because there's construction going up. And when you get into some of these subdivisions, they have a 10 o'clock curfew. And you know that there are some that wanna go working past that. They wanna finish, they'll put their headlights, they'll do everything. Well, if you don't have something in place, you can't stop that. So if there's, you know, if there's someone wanting to work on their house and it's 11 o'clock at night and you hear hammering, cutting and sawing and carrying on and you're trying to sleep and you call, he has nothing he can do. I live in the county. It's pretty cool. I like that. But if you have something in place, he can come over and go, hey guys, 11 o'clock, we've had complaints, take this up in the morning. That's where this is coming in. That's it. I'm done.
All right, Mr. Duff.
A couple of questions. What are the other counties that you have consulted that have this? Not cities, not city ordinances, but counties that have noise ordinance?
Cumberland County, Sevier County, Loudoun County,
Loudoun County does not.
Loudoun. Knox County does. Like I said, I'll send you the list of 20.
The other
Yes.
thing is, has the sheriff been involved in the writing of this because we're saying that they're gonna be part of the enforcement? Have they agreed that they will be part of the enforcement of this?
I have talked to them about this ordinance, and that is one thing that they said that, hey, they would like to look at a little bit more, and, you know, probably do need to do that.
Because if they're not going to enforce it, then they're.
Well, you got two ways of enforcing this, okay? And that's through the, deputy and the disorderly conduct charge, if it doesn't, you know, get corrected that night. And then through the courts for civil lawsuit for an injunction for causing the disturbance.
Mr. Goss.
Mr. Chairman.
I'm sorry, Mr. Duff, did you have another question, Mr.
I'm
Duff?
sorry.
I may have some here in just a moment.
But, Commissioner Berry, you was talking about, you was asking him about the decimal levels. I've got an app on my phone, and when you was talking, it showed 68.5, if that gives you a reference. And this is one of the highest rated apps you can get to put on a phone. So, I mean, that way, you know, you can see, you know, where, but, you know, the level actually stands. You know, we was talking about, you know, the special permits, and I should have made this statement to start with. I like these people here. I would not want to be, if I've got to work the next day, even if I don't want to be woke up with booming and boxing and hollering and screaming and a bunch of intoxicated people having a good time, and I'm trying to sleep. So I do feel for these people. I don't believe in pushing more stuff down people's throat. But we was talking about the special permits. It also says on here for the special permits, though, it says, and Glenn, you'll probably have to answer this, it says no more than 6 permits shall be issued to the premises in any 12-month period.
Yep.
So if they've got a business like that, they can get 6, and then they're done.
That's just a recommended number. You guys can raise that or lower it, whatever you want to do. Again, this is your ordinance.
Where did this ordinance come from?
This is a consolidated, ordinance that I pulled together from about 20 different, noise ordinances through counties and cities.
And looking at the dB levels, I mean, I'm just gonna be totally honest, I'm not very fond of them. Cause the way I'm looking at it, you know, what about the man that's, you know, what about the small businesses that, you know, that they work during the day? You know, let's use somebody's got hot, you know, pressure washing machine. He cleans houses and stuff. His machine is gonna be way above more than, you know, these level shows. You know, I wanna make sure that, you know, we don't go hurting, you know, small, or any business period. But, you know, and that's been, I mean, I've actually been addressed about that, you know, well, if it passes, you know, I mean, I know a guy that's got he's got a massive setup. He's probably got $30,000 invested.
Again, you're looking at a complaint-driven ordinance. Unless there's a complaint,
But
it
it's
doesn't
between the
apply.
hours of 7 a.m. and 9 p.m., right? I mean, if you got a pressure washer business, you're running your business between the hours of 7 a.m. and 9 p.m.
You're good. Yes, sir.
How can we get, is there any possible way to get, like maybe from 911, I know, a couple of us, I talked to Brian a little bit about that. Is there any way that we can get documentation, paperwork, and show it? The sheriff's department being called here for, this.
I would say that their database could do that, because we do get, on nuisance properties and, properties that have a bunch of call outs on it, we can get that from 911.
I just like, see the
That's,
picture, but I know.
that's a very good idea.
Chairman, I can speak to that. You would have to know specifically what you was asking for, like if it was a loud car, or a loud motorcycle, you'd have to be specific.
Yeah.
Whatever the complaint is at 911, what I'm saying, you'd have to be specific.
This ordinance does not address anything with vehicles or motorcycles or anything like that.
It needs to.
All right, let me pause right there just a second, because we've had over 35 people from Roane County show up to listen to this themselves. And I'd be remiss not to yield some time to them as well. So at this time, could I, and I'm gonna charge you with 3 minutes, because if all 35 of you get up, we're gonna be here at midnight, and I'll be making noise. And Brad, I need that app you got, my wife.
Mr. Nash, Mr. Nash,
7-0.
So, are we streaming?
Yes.
Brad.
Too late.
Good afternoon, my name is Brad Doherty. I'm a resident here in Roane County. I live off Irwinton Drive. And I also work as a wildlife officer here from the Tennessee Wildlife Resource Center. Where I live, I do hear music from a marina at my house. But as a wildlife officer, I have gotten numerous calls in other portions of the county as well, dealing with noise ordinance. So, and like Mr. Wilson said, law enforcement really don't have teeth in the county right now. Me personally, I do not care what Bayside Marina does or any other marina does. I don't care how loud their music is. But when I go inside my house, I don't want to hear what they're doing. And I think that's what a lot of people here are worried about or voice their concern about. But, you're looking through your ordinance here, and, me personally, just looking at it, I don't even see how you can charge somebody with disorderly conduct the way that TCA is written. Because if you look, and I think you said 3A, 3B says a person also violates this section who makes an unreasonable noise that prevents others from carrying on lawful activities. So, me just being at my house, sitting at my house, how is that a lawful activity? So I don't see how you could even charge that person with, and who would you charge? Would you charge the owner of the property or the band members, or, so there's a lot of questions there that I would have. And, I can't speak for Roane County, but knowing a lot of officers, Roane County's kind of short on officers. And, you have a 911 not emergency number, you could have people call there and say, hey, they're playing the loud music, whatever, we're violating the noise ordinance. But, if you have a decibel reading, it's just like Mr. Hook says, they'll see you coming and they'll turn it down. And then when you leave, they'll turn it right back up. That's why I see a lot of, just looking through it, I did see my question was, times, I think there were some typos in times here and everything, but, and like the enforcement for the county coming up at these times, because I actually went out and talked to Mr. Day, not in uniform, me and another neighbor, when he first started. I've been living here in 06 and never had a problem until Bayside Marina came with a new owner. So never had a noise problem there. But we went and talked to him just as neighbors. I was not in uniform, wasn't representing nobody but just me being the neighbor. And we talked to Mr. Day about the noise ordinance, because it does amplify when you go across the waterway. And
you know, he told me, he said, Brad, yes, absolutely, you give people my phone number. He gave me his number, he said, have people to call me, and I will turn that music down. I said, you really want me to do that? And he said, absolutely. And because we was doing the respectful thing, like Mr. Berry says, just talking, you know, kind of the Andy Griffith of law enforcement, but like I said, I wasn't there. But the first, I gave all my neighbors his number, like he asked me to. And when it came up, the very first night, he ended up cussing somebody out. And I was like, okay, then I'm done. You know, you can't, how can you be neighborly when something unneighborly happens like that? So, and it has been an ongoing issue, and I've got a text message at 12:40 at night. I actually asked, because somebody was complaining, and I texted Lester, and I said, my exact text was, hey Lester, what time are you thinking about stopping the music tonight? And he texted me back last song, and that is time stamped at 12:40 at night. So, you know, I had guard duty, you know, you have guard duty, and you gotta get up at 5 in the morning, and you're sitting there listening to the thumping, the bass, the percussion, and that's what a lot of people are hearing. That's what I'm hearing in the house, the constant boom, 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 boom. And you can't, you know, and like I said, I could care less what he does at his place, but when I go inside my house and my windows are shut and my doors are shut, I don't want to hear what he's doing inside of my house. And I think everybody here could agree to that. You know, I like the idea of the decibel readings from set the ratings from 10 o'clock or whatever, but, you know, me personally, I was living there before Lester got there. So your 12 o'clock, I think that's a little too late. I would go no more than 11 for me. I think that's fair. He would get his business in. If he needs to get so many hours, he can start a little earlier during the day. But I think 11 o'clock should be it. But thank you.
All right. Anyone else?
So, Mr. Chairman, let me get something clarified. You said this had.
My name's George Whitemark, I live around.
Hold on just a second. One more.
Let me get something clarified. This does not cover motor vehicles, motorcycles, problems that we're having, like out on the east end at 2 o'clock in the morning, got a race car ripping up and down the road.
Ripping it up and down the road, that is a law enforcement issue, okay, not a codes issue. If it's sitting in the garage and being revved up in the middle of the night, that is a codes issue, not a law enforcement issue.
So this would cover that.
Yeah, as far as the working on them and revving them up in the middle of the night, but like I said, once they get on the road, that's law enforcement, that's not us.
Yes, sir, go ahead and say your name again.
George Weinbarger, I live out on Poplar Springs Road, lived there about 53 years. I guess I disagree with several people by saying there's not a law or anything on the ordinances. There is. Tennessee State has laws on noise ordinance. Some of them Title IV, Greg probably knows in the heart. Now, about 2 years ago, Cumberland County came up with the same thing. One little neighborhood had a problem with a farmer riding a motorcycle on his property. They didn't like it, it irritated them. So they brought it to the board, and the board looked at it and said, well, Tennessee has already got an ordinance on noise. And we get into who's gonna enforce it, how's it gonna be enforced, and the decibels. I haven't looked at the articles that you're talking about on decibels, although I'm real familiar with the decibel level. It's 85. 85 is an 8-hour time-weighted average. It's not just instantaneous. 120 is instantaneous. That's what hurts your ears, damage your ears. But anyway, overall, yeah, I'd really like to take a look at this. But basically what Cumberland County agreed upon was that the resolution was a problem to a fix to a problem that didn't exist because they did have the state laws that covered ordinances, sound, and noise already. So I'll look at this, may have some more comments. Thank you.
All right, next. I'll get you next, ma'am.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. My name is Jim Conway. I'm one of those Yankees you hear about that
came here and found God's country. You might remember me from 2 or 3 weeks ago. I was the one that mentioned that one or more drunk people coming off the Bayside Marina ran up onto my dock, which I called Brad about, and I had the joy of paying $600 for the repairs out of pocket. Just 2 points really. The permit fees that you're talking about for $75 or $100, I'd probably round it off, but as a homeowner and I'm gonna have a party, the $100 permit to get my attention. If I'm an owner of marina, I would call that chump change. If you're gonna have a permit for marina, make it serious so they get your attention. The other thing is, this gentleman to my right had mentioned with the law going in repeatedly over and over, you know, that they, maybe they'll reduce the noise and then you back off and they turn it up and then you gotta go out again. Make it serious. First offense, X amount of dollars. So, or a warning maybe for the first offense. Second offense, make it serious, $500. Third offense, either 1,000 or shut them down. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
My name is Lee Leday, and I am a resident of Crystal Cove subdivision, and we have about 14 or 16 people represented here tonight. And I'm currently the vice president of the Homeowners Association. So we are very much in favor of a noise ordinance of some sort. I know the gentleman, Mr. Hendrickson, mentioned that, you know, if you buy next to a racetrack, you get what you get. Well, none of us bought across from a marina and a campground. None of us. So I'd like to start with that. That property, when we all were purchasing lots and building in 2010, that property was TVA owned and the deed was changed. We did not sign up for a campground nor a marina 200 yards from our shoreline. So we are very concerned about the noise. I know when we were looking into having a wake zone put in, and Brad's here tonight, we called TWRA to ask and say, you know, what do we do about the wake zone area? We want to get in front of that so that our homes and our shorelines are protected. And the thing that stood out to us first was when Brad said to us, you better be more worried about the noise that's going to come from there because I live it every day. That's what got us like, oh wow, we haven't even thought about that part of this. So we are extremely in favor of some sort of noise ordinance. We'd also very much like to have the permits, the special permits, the number to be reasonable. I agree with the gentleman that just spoke. It needs to be substantial enough. Otherwise, marinas and campgrounds, you know, $50 is nothing. There will be no point of a noise ordinance for those areas. They could do it Thursday through Sunday, playing bands, making noise, doing whatever. So we, again, are extremely in favor of a noise ordinance. I guess my last thought would be, if most of the surrounding counties have noise ordinances, what makes Roane County different that we wouldn't have something in place? So that's my comments, and I would yield the floor.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. My name's Jim Locke, and I'm one of the people that's here from Docks at Cane Creek. I talked to Mr. Kofer about an issue that we had back in June last year, and first off, I want to thank you for all the help that you've given us with the issue that we've had. We have one individual that lives across the lake from us. I'm not on the water. I'm a street over from the water. You all know how sound travels on the water. But this individual, if he can get somebody to come and jam with him, he'll do that, so there'll be a band. But if not, he can play along with Sirius XM. And this is not at all about the quality of the music that we're getting. It's about the quantity. The individual evidently does not have to be employed because he does this throughout the week, during the day. He does it on the weekends. He's done it on holidays. The first time was a holiday. It's really bad. You couldn't sit on your back porch and carry on a conversation. Again, I'm not on the water. My neighbors that are on the water, their windows were shaking, okay? But, happened on a holiday weekend, last Memorial Day. Thought, well, they just had a party. But this has continued on through the summer. Weekdays, weekends, sign up on the property, saying that they were having a free concert. And it's continued on and on. Now, I appreciate Mr. Berry, all of our representatives that have tried to help us on this, but this one definitely is an issue about respect, because we would call the police. I called thinking that, well, as long as we get a record that this is a problem, as you were discussing before, then at least there's a record there, because the police said, we'll go talk to them, there's nothing we can do. And my understanding from the law enforcement officers I talked to, they really tried to help us, but when they went and asked the guy, he said, no, people love this, I'm not turning it down. People out on the lake love this. We get boats that go down the lake, and you can hear their music, and then they're gone. But this guy just continues day after day after day. And it's not that we can't sleep at night, it's that we can't sit out on the porch during the day and enjoy our community. I've got other people from Docks at Caney Creek here, probably some of them would like to address this as well. But anything that y'all could do, it's a complete lack of respect for your neighbors. I had a neighbor talk to an individual that knows these people, and he bragged that they had people across the lake complain about the music. He's got good equipment. He's got great equipment. But he bragged that people complained about the music, and he went out and bought a bigger amplifier. So anyway, that's what we're dealing with. Thank you.
Mr. Block, I bet that wasn't bluegrass either, was
It was not, but I do have PA equipment, and I could help him out in that regard if he'd like to listen to it.
Could you send it back his way?
Thank you. My name is Chris Lack. I live in the Docks of Caney Creek as well, but I do live on the lake. Anybody who came to my house this weekend at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, my wife and I couldn't hear each other talking this close. 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock. My request to you all is, I know we're focusing a lot on the evening hours and the night hours. We also need something in these residential communities during the daylight hours. It was Saturday and Sunday. And it's bad when I sit 6 feet from my wife in my yard. When I moved here, there was no music. There wasn't any, to this gentleman's point, there was no music playing. So I moved here for the peace and quiet of Roane County. And now every weekend, or during the week, my wife sits outside. She's like here, and she holds her phone up, and I'm at work. I can hear the music. So I'm asking and, almost begging for you guys to come up with something. Again, like that gentleman said earlier, when you're about the rezoning, put yourself in our shoes. We spent a lot of money to move to Roane County. I built a beautiful house. We pay our taxes. We deserve something as well. Again, I invite you to my house any weekend you want to come out. And if we can't sit 6 feet apart from each other and hear each other, it's absolutely ridiculous in my opinion. So, Mr. Bear, I thank you for everything you've done. I appreciate what you all are listening to us. But again, let's please not just focus on the night hours, because we don't have a marina around us, although we think we do from what you hear across the street. So again, thank you for your time. Just please consider something during the daytime as well.
That's the same source?
Oh, 100%, yeah. And I can tell you this last thing, you can be in our house at 2 o'clock and I can see windows, you know? And again, it's a long way across that lake. I've actually taken a kayak and gone across the lake. There's speakers this big hanging in the tree. I mean, it's not little speakers. This is a huge thing. So, it's absolutely crazy during the daytime, and it's every weekend, 2-3 times during the week.
So I didn't know.
What's that?
I didn't know that there was
I'll
an app
definitely
that you could put on a smartphone, and you said that's a NIOSH app. So some of you guys are, record that. Give us a, if it's, but we're gonna have to get a device out there, one that we buy. But if that is any quality whatsoever, I would love to know what decibels you're reading at your house. So if that, you say it's a NIOSH, app, if you would.
There's 100 of them.
There is?
Okay.
Are they pretty accurate, Vic?
They are, they're very accurate. We use sound instruments at work, and I can use my phone, and basically it's the same thing.
Okay.
They're
So
accurate.
if you guys would record some of that, we're not voting on this tonight. We're still trying to make this, something usable document, but, record that and, just let us know.
Thank you for your time. Thank you for everything you've done as well.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, while he's coming up,
Yes, sir.
just as we've indicated, without any kind of ordinance, it's getting louder and louder and louder because they know there's nothing that can be done. And this subdivision is in particular, for 2 years. For 2 years it's been going on and it gets worse and worse. Just want to let you know that it's the same gentleman and that's what's happening.
So,
Excuse me.
Mr. Berry, just engage you. How many homes do you think that one individual's impacted?
I'm gonna guess 30 to 35, probably around the area, because that sound is coming right across the lake, amplifying as it comes across. And so these folks are, as you heard, you don't even have to be on the lake, the interior lots now are just as bad.
Okay, thanks. Sir, state your
Hi,
name.
my name is Marty Flynn. My wife Jennifer and I live on Bayview Drive. We're across the water from Bayside Marina. There's 2 issues, well, 3 actually. One is volume. How loud is loud? Some of this stuff is beyond belief loud coming out of the marina. And then the time of day. Is it 3 o'clock in the afternoon or is it 1 o'clock in the morning? And then the third issue is this special permit that you're all talking about. I don't really care what you charge, but what does that entitle them to do? If they get the permit, they pay $75, what does that get them? Can they play till 2 o'clock in the morning? Can they play at warp factor 6 volume? I mean, inside our house, with the doors shut, upstairs, you can't sleep. You can't talk. And this guy that we came with tonight, he lives right across the water from the marina, and it's just punishing on their property. We've been there. So we definitely need an ordinance, but I would pay careful attention to what you're talking about, how loud they can do it, how late they can do it, and then what the permit entitles them to do, because I just as soon not have any permits. They can play music over there, they just don't have to play it so loud. Because when you think about it, at that marina, there's only so many places to sit. It's right there on that dock, and even if you're on a boat at anchor to enjoy the music right around that marina, it doesn't have to be as loud as it is. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Chairman, while we having the next one come on up, I agree, this is needed, but it's been pointed out here tonight, we need some work, we need to do some work.
Yeah, this is not a final.
I mean, there's a lot of holes in it, and there's no need in having an enforcement if they're gonna find a way to get around it. And so, we may not be able to vote on this on the 20th, but I want to support it because we need an ordinance.
Mr. Berry.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to suggest that you appoint an ad hoc committee, because obviously we got a lot of stuff, and I would suggest 3 commissioners, somebody from the sheriff's office that wants to come, a citizen, and I would also suggest that we reach out to CTASC and have a CTAS representative at this ad hoc committee meeting to offer some advice on all these things that are being brought up. Otherwise, we're gonna spend a lot of time just.
We are, and well, it's much needed time, but I will say this, I don't think I can do that appointment in this setting.
Right.
I can March 20th.
Right.
Make that, but, and we'll talk about it then.
That's probably the best way to go.
So,
Go ahead.
so we will not bring this, resolution forward in the next, we won't file it tomorrow and file it deadline.
No, I would say we just hold up on.
I live by Rockport, it also has an asphalt plant. State pays at night. And that asphalt plant runs all night. And I hear them trucks, I hear all that machinery down there, all through the summer, 5:30. How does this affect that?
It does not affect them.
Or it does not affect that? Gotcha.
They would have to change the process or equipment for it to take effect on them. So it does not affect them whatsoever.
All right, let me hear some more of our public here. Guys, they did show up, like I said, 35 of them. Are you at next, sir?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Rod Coker. I live at 190 Bayview Drive. As I said, I'm probably one of the closest neighbors to Bayside Marina. Unfortunately, I can truthfully, honestly say, we've been there about 8 years. And knowing now, if I'd have known it back then, I wouldn't have bought there in a minute. The other thing I can say is I have measured decibel levels on my back porch, fluctuating in the 90s, all night long. You know, they'll start tuning up in the mid-afternoons, because we'll be hearing, sound check, 1, 2, 3, sound check, you know, and we're eating supper. And then it goes until 12, 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, every weekend during the summer. I don't know, I haven't seen the ordinance, so I don't know how that applies. There was some discussions just now that my question would be, in order to avoid what we just heard on the previous discussion, could you outline the specific procedure that's going to be taking place? I mean, apparently the planning commission has developed an ordinance, and there would have been a public comment potential at that point had I known about it.
And if there's any, in the future meetings, as I stated before, Roane County does a great job telling the public, you know, when we have meetings and what they're about. But word of mouth works better than anything.
Right.
And if there is a future, meetings on this ordinance, we will communicate to the public.
Okay. So the plan will be some more.
We're not going to print with this, we're not going to, on 20 March.
We're not voting on this, sir.
Okay.
They still need some work.
This is a draft.
So where will we, everybody on this side of the room, have an opportunity to have input into that? At what point?
Either in the plan or our ad hoc, if we stand up an ad hoc committee, it'll be advertised. And all of our meetings in Roane County are open to the public. So.
Okay, so we'll just have to stay tuned and.
Yeah, and you also, the night that it's voted on as a resolution, you can address the.
Understand that one, but we need to have input, excuse me, go ahead.
Well, you'll be able to, have input to the body then.
We need to have input that it's being built, rather than by the time it gets to you guys. You know.
Well, and we'll see that in a public setting, that if we have a meeting, that it's always open to the public, so.
Planning Commission did hold a public hearing for this.
What month was that?
Last month.
Was it?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks, sir.
Mr. Chairman.
Would it help if these different areas maybe appointed a spokesperson to
We're gonna wind it up here in just a minute.
to attend these meetings? And that way Glenn's office could get a hold of that one person and let them disperse it out. That's just an idea I'm throwing out.
All right, ma'am.
Will this affect the loud music coming from the boats on the water as well?
TWRA controls the roads. I don't think we can't do anything about anything on the water. That would be TWRA.
Yes, sir, you're correct. Just like with the vehicles, it's law enforcement, not us.
Yes, sir, right here.
My name is Randy Fromm, and I live at, Crystal Cove subdivision, and, sorry here. My question has nothing really to do with that, but I'm concerned, I hear people talk about in here decibels. Whether 85 decibels is a particular level or not. I hope when y'all decide on whatever you're gonna do, that's not, if it's damaging to your ears at 86, I hope we don't use that as our guideline I think we ought to think of good neighbors as well. If you're damaged at 85, then you're probably gonna be damaged at 82. And it's not, black and white. So I just wanna suggest that be part of the consideration. Think about good neighbors as well. Thank you.
My name is Bill Rogerson, and I'm here on behalf of Doxakini Creek and my wife. I say that because, and we've talked already, my friend over here, Mr. Roy, he's absolutely right that it's every weekend and all day long, every weekend. And so as a result, we have neighbors and friends, and my wife, for example, who get up in the morning and go to check because they think they hear the noise. And they keep going back to check, and as soon as they hear the noise, they come back in and say, it's at it again. All day long, at least on the weekends, and usually during the week if the weather's nice, like a few days ago here. When I came to move here after retiring from the military, after working at Oak Ridge for a lot of years, I was told, go to the lake. As soon as you get near there, then all the stress and whatever will fall right off of you. And I go across that little bridge over to Doxakini Creek, and I fell in love with it. Well, I bought my place there, built my house there, along with many of our other people that are here. And that was a good 4 or 5 years or more before then one person who was on the other side of the lake moved in and decided that he wanted to show everyone how well he could play, better than I do, John, the kind of equipment that he has. Sorry, the point is that we've had the police, i.e. the sheriff's office, over to our house several times last summer. And before they got to the backyard or to the deck to be able to hear the sound, they said, oh, we heard it from the time we got out of the car. And then a couple times they said, oh, we heard it before we got out of the car. We can't hold a conversation inside our house. Our hearings may be a little bit better than Mr. Locke's, but in any event, we can't even talk in a conversation in the afternoon, in the evenings, or whatever, as a result of one individual who doesn't do what I think Mr. Gann said and what Mr. Berry said. Thank you very much, Mr. Berry, for your support. He said, a matter of respect. So like I said, I did more than 20 years in the military. I've been a Tennessee resident all my life. Get back to Tennessee, and I worked for 26 years, and I retired to the lake. And I can't get respect from the person who lives across the river from me. And the reason I can't is because when the sheriff's personnel or the police go over to talk to the gentleman, there's nothing that makes him have to do anything. And he has no respect for me and my experience, or many of the others that are in this room that also have military experience or have young children who need a lower DB level than 85 in order to keep from their hearing loss. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. All right, next.
Mr. Chairman, can I ask something?
Yeah.
To the attorney. We went back and said this could be a civil matter, right? So anybody here could take action, correct? In a civil manner, correct?
Well, yes, the individuals here would have the right to file a nuisance suit and let that go through the court.
Correct. So I guess that's what I'm saying is, the law has been called. They've met kind of the criteria of what you're saying, the nuisance, or, and I'm throwing this out to you guys, I'm sympathetic, but also I'm seeing one area of the county, and this is a good number of people, and I'm sympathetic to all of them, but, so if we already have a guard in place, or, so it's gonna cost money, I'm sure, right? It's gonna cost the county money in a way, potentially cost you guys some money. But it's kind of hard for the whole county, 35, 40 people, say 100 people show up, 53,000 people. There's a lot of opinions and stuff, and like I said, I am sympathetic, but you do have an avenue, whether we pass this or not, that you guys can get some relief, potentially, I guess is what I'm saying. Maybe you didn't know or hadn't thought.
All right, thank you, sir. All right, come on, and let me ask this. So we've heard from homeowners and everyone else. Is there a business operator out here? Is there a marina owner or anyone else that would like to address the commission? All right, here, go ahead, sir.
My name's Gary Pickett. I live at 260 Serenity Drive in Doxy Creek. I'd like to thank the commission for being here and allowing us to appear before you and voice our concerns. And a lot of things have already been said, and I'll try not to be redundant. Just a couple of points I would like to make, though. What I did sign up for when I bought it, and I live right on the lake. I signed up at 6 and 7 o'clock on Saturday morning and Sunday morning when they're having the fishing tournaments and those boats are running down the river wide open. Doesn't bother me. They come and they go. I live when all the boats are coming by and the music's blaring and all that. I don't have a problem with that. It comes and it goes. The individual that you've already heard about, he starts sometimes at 11 o'clock in the morning. He has his amplifiers facing the water. It doesn't face inward, it faces right toward us. And it starts at 11 o'clock, and it can go till 11 o'clock at night. And it's constant. And if he's not out there playing, he has it tuned in to some California station on XM. Because you can hear, it's loud enough and clear enough that you can hear what the radio station is and the disc jockey, and he'll come and go. But he leaves that on the whole time. And as you heard, occasionally there is a sign out there that says free concert. He also built a long dock where you can tie up, I would say, 8 to 10 boats. And it's almost like he's trying to create a business out there where he can actually play concerts. That's our thought. Can't prove that, don't know that, but that's what the trend, it looks like that. So I would say the important thing here is also endurance. How long can somebody actually play this music? And if it's just a radio station, obviously, we all thought about getting together and playing a song over an amplifier that's R-E-S-P-E-C-T. I don't know if you have heard it. Okay. So, but we certainly would ask and request that you do pass some kind of a noise ordinance, but also during the day. And again, to Commissioner Henderson, I did sign up for the boats to make the noise, and I did sign up for the fishing tournaments, and I did because I knew all that when I moved. But what I didn't know is when somebody can actually hook up an amplifier, face it toward us, and crank it up and blow us out. And again, even during the day, I have grandchildren that come and spend the weekends with us. They can't even sleep, and some of them are fairly young. The windows are rattling. You can't carry on a conversation. So anyway, thank you for all that you all do, and would ask that you certainly consider this.
Thank you, sir. All right, we're gonna close. This will be the last one, man. Come on up. And we'll close out then we'll turn it back over to the legislative body.
Rhonda Becker, and I live close to Bayside Marina. And the question I had was in this proposal, it talks about grandfathering, so would they be grandfathered in? That was the only thing that I had a question about.
No, marina, a place that has bands coming in and out would not be grandfathered in because it's a new event each time that they change.
Okay. Because when we moved there in 2006, we basically had the place to ourselves. This happened, 2, 3 years ago, and it's just gradually gotten worse. We didn't sign up for that. Like the guy said, boats going by with music, they come and go. But this is not come and go, and he's trampling on our rights. We pay taxes, just like he does, and we need the respect. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, this time we'll go back to the legislative body for any further comments.
I would like to ask our county attorney to research the law, to see if there's anything existing that can address some of these, whether it be nuisance, is there something already on the books that we can enforce this? This is, sounds like there's one person in this area that is a menace to society, that, hopefully we can.
I don't have to research that because the only thing you as a government can enforce are your own resolutions. So if you want the codes office to have something
the sheriff's department can enforce.
the only thing that the sheriff's office has to enforce is this misdemeanor statute that is in your proposed resolution, and there's no decibel requirement. And the only way that you can successfully enforce a noise statute or ordinance is to have a specific decibel threshold. Because in order to hold somebody in violation of it, you've got to prove that there's a specific standard and they have violated that standard. The problem with this disorderly conduct statute, and it's an old statute, is it says unreasonable noise, physically offensive condition. There's no way to measure that.
Mr. Chairman, I know we've heard from a couple of groups here tonight, but that's by no indication that that's all the problem we have in this county. These are just folks that have been hit hardest by this and trying to prevent, they've been hit once, they just don't want to get hammered again, and that's why they're trying to do this. So I would say we've got the same thing, and if we do an ad hoc or whatever we're gonna do, we're gonna find more and more people coming to share experiences with us like this. So I would just urge you to keep in mind that these are just folks that are here because of a couple of particular situations. This isn't all the problems that we have in this county. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, any other debate on the noise ordinance for tonight? All right, hearing none,
We adjourn.
do I have a motion to close out the workshop? Motion.
Second.